Assalamu alaikum again. How are you? I'm back to the same page that I left you with. I hope you got most of the answers right. And I hope that you take the time to reflect on your mistakes. If you did not get any of the answers correctly, then you should maybe think why you didn't. Moving on to the last narrative tense, or the past tense. Here we have the past perfect. How do we form the past perfect? It is used, or it is formed using had plus the past participle. Past participle means verb 3. How do we form the questions? We form the questions by inverting the subject and had. So had comes before the subject. Invert means switch. Had comes before the subject, and this is how we make the question. How do we make negatives? We make them with had plus not, of course, followed by the main verb. Let's look at the sentences we have here as example. The statement, you had studied English before you moved to New York. Let me get my magic wand. So, you had studied. Had studied is the past perfect. You had studied English before you moved to New York. In the question, we have had comes before the you. This is the inversion. So, had you studied English before you moved to New York? And finally, the negative, you had not studied English before you moved to New York. Notice the negative. The not is with had, and we can use it in contracted form by saying you hadn't studied English before you moved to New York. Moving on, this is the timeline that shows us how we must think of the past perfect. So this is the present, this is the now, and this is a past point in time. If we want to say that something happened here, we usually use the simple past. But if we want to mention something that happened before that point in the past of the past, then we use the past perfect. So, use number 1. It is used for completed actions before something in the past. This is actually the only use for the past perfect. It is when we talk about two things happening in the past, one happening before the other. Let's read. The past perfect expresses the idea that something occurred before another action in the past. It can also show that something happened before a specific time in the past. So, if I may take you back to the graph that we studied before. Okay. Let's look at this graph, if I may have your attention, please. So, this is us here, now, in the present time. And something that's happened before now, which is in the past, is our point of reference. Now, if we want to say that something happened before this point in the past, then we use the past perfect. So you may say that the past perfect is actually talking about the past of the past. It's something that's happened before another point in the past. So going back to our use, I'm going to go on reading. It can also show that something happened before a specific time in the past. That point in the simple past can come in the form of not a verb, but a specific point in the past. We'll talk about it further. Let's look at the examples. I had never seen such a beautiful beach before I went to Hawaii. So we have two verbs happening, going to Hawaii and never seeing a beach. Both of them happened in the past, but one happened before the other. Here, the not seeing or the never seeing a beach happened before the going to Hawaii. And that's why I use the past perfect to say, I had never seen such a beautiful beach before I went to Hawaii. The same applies to the following sentence. I did not have any money because I had lost my wallet. So in the past, there was the state of not having money. Did not have money is the simple past. It's in the negative. Did not plus the base. Did not have. So this is the simple past. What resulted in this situation? What happened before this? I don't have money. Why? Because I had lost my wallet. I apologize. Tony knew Istanbul so well because he had visited the city several times. So Tony did two things, or has two verbs. Knew the city and he had visited it. Why did he know? Why did he know Istanbul? Because before knowing it, he had visited it several times. Again, simple past, knew, and past perfect, had visited. Notice the fourth example. Had Susan ever studied Thai before she moved to Thailand? Again, the question is if she did something before she moved to Thailand. Moved is in the simple past, and the studying is in the past perfect. Had studied. She only understood the movie because she had read the book. Again, two things happening in the past. The understanding, notice understood is the simple past. How did she understand the movie? What happened before she understood the movie? She had read the book. Christine had never been to an opera before last night. Notice here, we don't have another verb in the sentence, but instead of another verb, we have a specific point in time, which is last night. This is a past point in time, and something happened before it, before last night. So last night is the simple, it's like, it's instead of the simple past. This is the point in the past, and something happened before this point in the past. What happened? Had never seen, had never been, sorry. We were not able to get a hotel room because we had not booked in advance. Again, they were not able, were in the simple past. Why were they not able? Because they, before that, did not book in advance. So they had not booked in advance. Two verbs in the past, one happening before the other. Finally, had you ever visited the US before your trip in 2006? Notice, in 2006, as an expression, alone is a specific point in the past. And in 2006, if it's used alone, we would use the simple past verb with it. But here it says before 2006, before 2006. So 2006 is a point in the past with something happening before it, which is the visiting. So had you ever visited before 2006? And the answer is yes, I had been to the US once before then. Before then refers to 2000. So yes, I had been before 2006. Hopefully this is clear. As I told you, there's only one use for the past perfect, and that is to show that something happened before another thing in the past. Sometimes we use it to talk about duration. You know that when we talk about duration, we usually talk about continuous tenses. But here, this is an exception. Here we use the past perfect instead of the past perfect continuous only when we have state verbs or stated verbs. You know that stated verbs cannot come in the ing form, and so they cannot come in the past perfect continuous. Instead, they come in the past perfect. So let's read. The state verbs with state verbs, we use the past perfect to show that something started in the past and continued up until another action in the past. Let's look at the examples. We had that car for 10 years before it broke down. Wait a minute, let me get my magic wand. Okay, so Had is the past perfect of the verb have. This is the main verb, and this is the helping verb. Remember, with the rule says, use had plus verb 3. And had is the verb 3 or the past participle form of the verb have. So have here means own. And you know that have in this sense is a stative verb. It cannot come in the ing. So we can't say we had been having that car. We cannot use the past perfect continuous. Instead, we use the past perfect because it's a stative verb. Why did we use the past perfect in the first place? Because this is something that's happened before another point in time in the past. It broke down before it broke down. So the breaking here is in the past, and something happened before that breaking, which is the ownership, having the car. Okay. By the time Alex finished his studies, he had been in London for over 8 years. Again, had been, verb be here is not a helping verb, it's a main verb. And you know that verb be as a main verb is a stative verb. It cannot come in the ing. Had plus verb 3, had been, here is used instead of the past perfect continuous. Instead of saying he had been being in London. Of course, this is incorrect. The correct way to say it is had been in London. Notice again that this happened before another point. What is that other point in the past? By the time Alex finished. You can think of, this is really, really important, the word by. You can think of by as having the same meaning as before. Before Alex finished his studies, something happened. What happened? He had been in London. Third example, they felt bad about selling the house because they had owned it for more than 40 years. Again, had owned is a stative verb, and so we have to use it in the past perfect, not in the past perfect continuous. Let's read the note. Although the above use the past perfect, although the above use of the past perfect is normally limited to stative verbs, we have special verbs that take the past perfect as well, like live, work, and teach, and sometimes study, but mainly it's live, work, and teach. These verbs can come in the past perfect or in the past perfect continuous interchangeably, although they are not stative verbs, but it would mean the same thing. So you can say, Alex had lived in New York before moving to London, or Alex had been living in New York before he moved to London. So these verbs are special verbs that can be used in the past perfect, although they are not stative. Moving on. This is an important point, and this is somewhat like a summary of these 3 tenses that usually create a problem for students. I would like you to please pay attention to this part because this is really important. So, the simple past on the timeline is represented as a certain point in time. Notice the X here. So, now is the present time. Anything that happens before now at a specific point in the past, we use the simple past tense to express it. Usually, the simple past tense is used with words like ago, last, and in. For example, 3 years ago, 2 days ago, or last week, last month, or in 1999, in the 20th century, in the beginning of the 11th century, whatever. All of these give us a specific point in time, which is in the past. With this indication, with these signal words, we use the simple past. The present perfect is similar to the simple past in that both of them happen before now. So both of them happen before now. But what is the difference? the present perfect happened before now or in the past, but there is no specific time to mention when it happened. We only know that it happened before now and it has continued up till now, or that its effect has continued up till now. The only time when we have a specific point in the past referring to the present perfect is when we use the word since. But as I told you, since is not the same as last week and in 1999, because these represent a point where the verb happened. This, on the other hand, since, represents only the starting point of the verb. So the verb started since 1999, but continued up till now or just before now, or its effects have continued up till now. The past perfect is similar to the present perfect in that it links two times. Here in the present perfect, we link the past with the present. Here we link the past with another past. So if we talk about now as our point of reference, anything that happened before now at a specific point in time is the simple past. But anything happening before this point is the past perfect, or the past of the past. So again, if two things happen in the past, one happens before the other, then what happens first comes in the past perfect, and what happens later on comes in the simple past. Notice that this point may be represented with a verb, which is the simple past, or it might be represented by a reference to a specific time in the past before which something else happened. We'll talk about this more in the examples that we will discuss. So again, this is quiz time, and this is the third quiz for the third part of this lesson. You must, in this quiz, use either the simple past or the past perfect. The simple past or the past perfect to fill in the blanks. Again, you have to stop the video, copy the sentences in your notebook, and try to answer the questions. Give yourselves 5 minutes to find the answers, and then after writing them down, come back and play the video again. Continue this video. By the way, before we move on, I would like to explain to you why I keep asking you to copy the sentences in your notebook. I think this will help you learn the rule. If you write the sentences, you'll concentrate more on the different parts of the sentence. Maybe some of these words and signal words and structures will, be internalized in your brains. And also, copying sentences will definitely improve your handwriting. Hopefully, they will improve your handwriting, because you really need to work on your handwriting, ladies and gentlemen. So again, before you go, remember, the simple past is made up of a verb plus ed, or a regular and irregular form. I told you to go back to the book and check the irregular forms. And the past perfect is made up of had plus past participle, which is verb to be. All the best. Here's the quiz, quiz 3, with 3 sentences and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 blanks. Stop the video now and try to do these, and get back to me, please. Okay, so we're back. I hope that you did actually stop the video and try to solve these. But anyways, let's do them together. The Maya established a very advanced civilization in the jungles of Yucatan. However, their culture blank by the time Europeans first blank in the New World. When I first read this sentence, I noticed the word by. By the time something happened something else happened. Again, I would like to explain the word by the time. It's very similar to before. So this happened first, the Europeans arrived, and then, sorry, this happened later, the Europeans arrived, and before that, the culture disappeared. So let's answer, sorry, let me write down the answers for you. And the first answer is, their culture had virtually disappeared by the time Europeans first arrived. So, by the time the Europeans arrived, their culture had virtually disappeared. Moving on to the second sentence. Let's read the sentence again. By the time I got to the office, by the time, again, by the time. So before I got to the office, got is in the simple past. So what happened before the simple past? Past perfect. The meeting begin. Begin already. So had already begun. Notice the verb 3 of begin. Begin is the base and the simple present. Began with an A is the simple past, and begun with a U is the verb 3 form. Very similar to sing, sang, sung. Please work on your verb forms. So again, what happened? By the time I got to the office, the meeting had already begun without me. So the meeting started before I got to the office. But when I did go, and when I arrived to the office, what happened? My boss was furious, very angry with me, and I was fired. Fired means kicked out of work. Okay. So let's look at the third sentence. When I arrived home last night, notice last night is a specific time without by or before or anything. This is a specific point in time in the past. So when I arrived home, something had already happened. I discovered that mom, I love my mom. Moms are great. So what did mom do? Mom had prepared dinner for me. So mom prepared dinner before I arrived. And this is simple past, and this comes in the past. I hope you got most of these right. If you didn't, think of your answers and think why you didn't get them right and how you can improve next time. Moving on. Okay, so guess what? We have another surprise for you. And this time, the surprise is, guess what? Another quiz. This time in quiz 4, this is the fourth quiz that you have to do in this lesson, which is made up of 3 parts, and this is the third part. So quiz 4, you must fill in the blanks with the simple past, the past perfect, or the present perfect. So this is more demanding. Now you have 3 tenses that you need to work with. As usual, stop the video, copy the sentences in your notebook, and try to answer the questions. This time, I'm going to give you 10 minutes to find the answers. Of course, I think you need less time than that, but 10 minutes is max. It's the maximum. A reminder, the simple past is made up of verb ed or irregular form. The past perfect is made up of had plus the verb 3. And the present perfect is made up of has or have, has for he, she, it, have for I, we, they, you, plus past participle. So remember, Simple past is used for a specific time in the past. Past perfect is used for two things that happened in the past, one before the other. And the present perfect is something that happened before now, without a specific time or with since, and has somehow a connection with the present. Here's the quiz. It's made up of 4 sentences, but a lot of verbs. So take your time, write them down, think about them, look at the words, look at things and when they happen and how they're related to the other sentences. And please stop the video and come back. So I hope that you did actually stop the video, and I know you missed me and I know you want to hear my voice, but I really wanted you to stop the video and actually answer the questions. So ladies, let's start. Since I began acting, the word since, again, we have an alarm here. The bell is ringing, ding, ding. Since is usually used with a present perfect main verb. Since I began acting, so the starting point is when I started acting. What happened? Sorry. What happened? What happened is that I have performed, I have performed in 2 plays, a television commercial, and a TV drama. However, I speak never even publicly before I came to Hollywood in 2010. So notice here, before I came to Hollywood is actually a time in the past, and something happened before that, which is the never speaking. So here, I must use the past perfect. However, I had never even spoken. Notice verb 3. I had never spoken publicly before I came to Hollywood. Okay. Following sentence. When I turned the radio on yesterday. Here, this is very clear, specific time in the past. So this must be in the simple past. When I turned the radio on yesterday, what happened? I heard a song that was popular when I was in high school. So yesterday, I did 2 things. I turned on the radio and I heard simple past, simple past. Then, I hear not the song in years. Yesterday, or before yesterday, something happened. I had not heard the song in years. And it brought back some great memories. So when I heard it, it brought back some great memories. Let's write the answers. So when I turned the radio on yesterday, I heard, all of this here happened yesterday. I heard a song that was popular, and then I had not heard the song in years, and it brought back some great memories. Okay, 3rd question. When Jack entered the room, I recognized not him. So when Jack, something happened in the past. When Jack entered the room, another thing happened. I recognized not him. I didn't. I didn't recognize him because, notice the reason, because he lost weight and grew a beard. When do you think he lost the weight and grew the beard? Did it happen when he was, when he entered the room, suddenly he lost the weight and he grew the beard? No, this must have happened before entering the room. So these two verbs, the losing and the growing, are two verbs that happened before the entry. And so they must come in the past perfect. Because he had lost so much weight and had grown a beard. He looked totally different. Finally, the final sentence. I visit so many beautiful places since I come to Utah. So, two things happening, the visiting and the coming. And notice here the word since. So what is the connection? I have visited so many beautiful places since I came to Utah. I have visited since I came. Before moving here, now notice this word takes us back in time. Before moving here, the moving happened in the past. But what happened before the past? The past of the past. Before moving here, I hear never. So, I had never heard. I had never heard of Bryce Canyon, Zion, and all of these other places. I hope that you got most of these correctly. I hope you answered them correctly. I hope that you also, even if you did not get some of them right, or even all of them right, I just need you to sit down and think. What made you decide to write a different tense? And why did we decide to write this tense in front of you? Please think about that, because, reflecting on your answers really helps you overcome your misunderstandings. And now I'm done, and I want you to please look at this final slide. Hope you have enjoyed this very important lesson. And now I want you to please do your homework. So you are asked to refer to your activity book, Unit 8, and do exercise 2, 3, 4 on page 44, and exercise 7 on page 45. I want you to think of this last slide and notice the words I've used here. You see, hope you have enjoyed, Why did I decide to use the present perfect? Because we started enjoying this lesson in the past, but the enjoyment has continued up till the present time, or at least the effects of this have continued. I know I can see your faces smiling or frowning, some of you pulling your hair out, whatever. The effect is there, I'm sure. So that's why I use the present perfect in this sentence. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoyed it really, and I hope to see you soon, inshallah, with other lessons. Take care and stay safe.